Hi, we're the Science Club, and this is our coronavirus information presentation. I'm Taryn.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Mateo.
The first question we'd like to answer is, what is COVID-19? COVID-19 is a severe respiratory illness, meaning it is a illness which affects our lungs and our breathing, and it is based in the RNA. RNA is it's essentially a type of DNA that we find inside our nucleus within our cells, and so the virus infects the human cell and causes it to produce COVID RNA, which is bad for our body. The next question we want to answer is, what does COVID-19 look like? So, some of the main symptoms of COVID-19 are cough, fever, headache, being tired, chills, sweats, aches, and difficulty breathing. In some cases, the person may exhibit all symptoms or only a few, and in some cases, they may not exhibit any symptoms at all. Even without symptoms, one person can still have it and spread the virus.
All right, so the next question that we're going to address is, how does COVID-19 spread? So COVID is spread through aerosols, which means that it spreads through particles in the air, and therefore it is airborne. And one of the particles that can the COVID virus can live on are spit particles. And then also, COVID can live on some surfaces, anywhere from a few hours to a few days. And this is why it is very important to wash your hands and use hand sanitizer when you cannot wash your hands.
Hi, now you're probably wondering, how can I prevent the spread of COVID? Well, there are a few ways. One, you can wash your hands, preferably with soap and warm water. Use soap and warm water for about 20 seconds and then rinse. And then if you don't have access to a sink or anything like that, you can use hand sanitizer, and preferably hand sanitizer with 60% alcohol. So make sure to kill the germs. If you're in public, you want to stay 6 feet away from anyone that's not someone that you live with. If you can't stay 6 feet apart, then at least wear a mask when you're in public. Things like the N95 masks or the surgical masks work fine. However, face guards and bandanas do not work as masks, and it does not help prevent the spread of COVID-19. So make sure you have a mask that works when you're around people that don't live within your household. If you do find that you get some sort of COVID symptoms, it is important that you self-quarantine for 10 to 14 days and don't have any interaction with anyone else. After those 10 to 14 days, if you still have symptoms, continue self-quarantine. If not, go get tested and quarantine until you get your results back to make sure that you're not positive for COVID-19.
Finally, we are going to address some misconceptions about the virus. One common misconception is the virus isn't real. This is just plainly false, as there have been over 80 million cases worldwide, with around 20 million in the US alone. There is not one single concrete piece of evidence that exists that supports the claim that the virus isn't real or its danger has been exaggerated. Another common misconception is the virus is just as bad as the flu. And while it may be true that the virus does not have a very high mortality rate, it can be very dangerous to certain people, such as those who have weakened immune systems or those who are old. And then also, it is much more dangerous than the flu just because of the amount of cases there are and how quickly it can spread. And this is bad because our healthcare system isn't prepared to deal with too many cases. So this is why social distancing is very important. And then the final misconception we'll be addressing is the virus isn't killing that many people. And then again, this is just clearly untrue, because if we look at this graph from the CDC, this graph shows the expected amount of deaths over time. And as you can see, starting in around April of 2020, you can see that the actual deaths was way above the expected amount. And so even if, and the coronavirus is the only thing that can point towards this and shows that it has caused a very large amount of deaths.